The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by Sidebar, its guests, callers, and advisors are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS Verizon Media Group. Sidebar, a 103.5 The Beat podcast, is a production of ILTV Studios and may not be reproduced or represented, in part or in its entirety, without the express written consent of Verizon Media Group. Sidebar is the intellectual property of Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2024. All rights reserved.
Welcome to Sidebar, 103 The Beat podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. Today, we are going to be talking with... okay, so here's the thing. I would like to have a conversation with somebody that could help us stop being broke. And maybe you're not broke. Great for you. But for the rest of us who are, a little on the financially challenged side, how do we not be broke? How do we not be broke? And actionable steps, real steps, not just stuff like, oh, you got to see it. Because here's the thing, man, you can't actually, that's not how it works. Like, that idea of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps is, in fact, a fallacy. But we'll get into all of that with our guest today. We are going to be talking to some folks, professionals from RF Financial. And let's see what they have to say. So welcome to the show, guys. So yeah, tell us who you are and what exactly it is that you do. Quinton?
Like you would have said, my name is Quinton Gibson. I'm one of the securities investment advisor here at RF Bank and Trust. So my job is to mainly help persons either build, maintain, and grow their personal finances.
Yeah. My name is Dominic Stubbs. I too am a securities investment advisor here at RF. Like Quinton, my job and my task and my responsibilities are to, meet with potential and existing clients to, sit down and discuss, help them plot out what their investment journey is going to look like, kind of guide them along the lines of finding appropriate investment vehicles that would meet, their financial goals. So that's what, we do on a regular basis.
So before we get into how you guys can help people to not be broke, right? Because essentially that's what the conversation is. Like, how do we unbroke ourselves, right?
For sure.
RF is exactly what exactly is it? Because I know it says bank, but
right.
Bank and trust sounds like there are different levels to it. So what exactly is it?
So we would be an investment bank / wealth management firm. That would be like the best way to describe it. So like you said, there's tiers where you can help clients on the highest level, the high net worth. And we also help the persons who are just looking to start out and persons who are, middle class. They have it, but they just need to put some pieces together. That's really what we do. So we are a bank, but not like we're not trying to drown you in debt.
I can piggyback and just add to that, and I'll use a comment that a colleague of ours, Christina Sands, loves to say. We offer cradle to grave services. So from that perspective, we have products and services that appeal to us. And when we say cradle to grave, we truly mean that you can open up an account specifically for your child. An educational investment account, you open that up with the intent for your child, and you can open that up as soon as they're born. And when we say cradle to grave, you mentioned the trust part, and we do offer trust services along with some of the other things that Quinton would have mentioned as well. And in that regard, you may end up establish some sort of wealth, and you may or may not trust your family members with it. And the whole idea of having trust services in place is to kind of dictate how this wealth would not just be dispersed, but how it would actually be used. So like you said, we offer, it's a whole litany of services that we offer. We're not just a commercial bank who's just out here trying to push, putting you, as Quinton would say, into debt. But we're different from a commercial bank. We're an investment bank, and so like I said, we offer you, offer you products and services that will help you along that investment journey.
So if I'm a random person, because I think that for a lot of people, when you hear something like trust, you only really hear about that on TV shows, and it's like an ultra rich person, they leave $21 million in a trust for their kids or their grandkids and that type of stuff. How does a regular Joe Blow get involved with something like that?
Hold on. I'll follow back up on.
Yeah, well, essentially, they can. Now, when we talking about the regular Joe Blow, what the services and the products and the things that we offer would be more so along the lines of giving them the opportunity to achieve, um, put them on that journey in terms of learning how to invest. And we like to say that, investing is your channel or your way to financial independence and security, and more importantly, about creating wealth. And I think, and I appreciate that you bringing it to the regular person to let them know that we do have products and services that are available for the regular Joe Blow. Because a lot of times what ends up happening is that and I'm sure Quentin can attest to this as well. You have a lot of people who are thinking like, oh, I'm not at the financial space to be doing some of the things that you guys are offering. Oh, I need to save some money first. And I always tell people it's not a situation of you having to save. It's just that you can get started, and you can get started with us and get into some of our products for as little as $100 to $500. So it's not a situation where the services we are offering are only available for the ultra high net worth. Like you said, the person with $21 million just sitting there that they need to pass on to their family. No. And your way to get to that point of potentially having something of, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars is you need to invest. And we offer the regular man, the regular Joe Blow, just as much as the person who has the money, the opportunity to invest and start building and creating their own wealth.
And you asked about a random guy. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm a random guy.
Yeah,
We're
that's
random
true.
men.
That's very true.
I so
Very true.
so I like to use the example of I'm not just an advisor. I'm also an example. I don't just sit and tell people what to do. I'm living the same thing that you're trying to live. I'm seeing it. I'm following the same advice that I'm actually giving to you to reach the same goals as you want to reach. So for the most part, you'll have persons like Dom says. We you don't have to come to us as the person who is ready to set up a legacy of all these different estate and trust and planning services, and you have all these different assets. For the most part, we can help you get to that point, because even like myself, I'm not at the point in my life where a trust is something that I'll necessarily be setting up now. So it's like you may hear about a trust, but it may not be the time yet. Maybe now is your time to start getting into maybe a mutual fund. So you know, I, we're all random people. That's when you think about it that way, it makes it seem more digestible. Yeah,
Yeah, it's less daunting. So my my
yeah,
my question. So we're gonna get into how are what are the different ways that a person can do this? Because you mentioned a mutual fund. All right. Before
yeah.
we get into that,
Mhm.
there used to be a time. I'm old enough to remember when regular commercial banks used to give you actual interest
A long
if you have
time
Right.
money
ago.
in the
Yeah.
bank
A,
account,
lo-
right?
a long
Right. And
time.
now every month I look on my online banking, and the service
They
fees
charge anyway.
are more
Yeah.
than the interest. It's like, well, would you guys even like this? This is hurting my feelings. There was no point in you guys saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
guess what? You made
Right.
$1. We took 5 or 8 or
Two.
10 or so, however much dollars."
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I was like, "What are you guys doing?" But I guess speaking about mutual funds, so people can have an idea, a grasp of exactly what's happening. When RF gets the money, what does RF do with the money that allows for them to, whenever, like, to give you a return on the investment itself? Because people hear the word investment, but they don't necessarily like know what that means.
They don't know what's actually happening.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a great question because a part of it is also going to be on us, me as an advisor and the client having a clear understanding of what the next steps are and what's required from you for us to do what we need to do to help you. So something as simple as actually just opening up, let's say, a brokerage account and just funding it, that alone doesn't really give us the power to do anything. You've just deposited cash into an account to sit there. Now, when we go to the point of saying, okay, we've discussed, decide on a mutual fund, something that aligns with your risk profile. Now we can say, okay, what are we doing on our end? So we have a lot of different fund options, from equity funds to fixed income funds to balance funds, international funds, and we're basically taking that money, that pool of managed funds, and investing it into different securities to create these different risk profiles of mutual funds. Some are more aggressive, conservative, moderate risk. So we're constantly working on the existing product that you want to get into to grow your money. So we're not gonna, you don't give us your money and then we do something. You give us your money and add it to something we're already doing.
And just to kind of add on to that as well, what's also key to remember is, like you said, it's not that, you're taking your money and recreating something new. We're just adding it to a pre-existing product that we have. And what's key with all of that is, and what makes a mutual fund to me the best option for someone who is not well versed in the investment space, is because the investment decisions in regards to how that fund is managed is made by qualified individuals, not by yourself.
Yep.
And so, technically speaking, you can recreate some of the mutual funds yourself individually, but it's going to cost you more money. So it's going to be more expensive up front for you to do that. It's going to require you personally to actually understand what it is that you're investing in, and, kind of understanding and knowing why you should possibly have money in this. You, by investing in a mutual fund itself, we take that decision making out of your hands, especially because a lot of people who are coming to us, that's not their forte. They're not going to quit their day job to go and do that. We have people whose day job and whose 9 to 5 and their 5 to 9 is to, go through the, whatever investment environment it is, and identify what are some of the best investment opportunities out there. And that's where your money goes. It goes into that, and those funds actually, like, it's, for me personally, especially if you're not someone who knows anything and you're new to this, that works. So you have qualified individuals making those decisions. The only decision you have to make is how much money you're going to put into it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know for a lot of people, television is the only introduction or knowledge or access they have to the world of investments. Because when you talk about mutual funds, I think what the image that comes to person's minds when they hear about anybody investing in, whether it's a stock or a money market or anything, is that Wolf of Wall Street sort of thing, where day traders, where
Yeah.
people are doing like, you
Yeah.
put $5 down on the right thing and you just figure it out, and then somehow you
Yeah.
get 500
Hey man,
million
that
back and
movie
you
is
got to
why I
sell
chose
it.
this career, So I feel you.
But I know, oh boy, that's
It's a great,
okay. Everybody has story.
it's a great movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. So I think because people see that, they often think of investing in stocks or bonds or anything like that as akin to gambling. And although it does carry risk, it's
Yeah.
not the same thing. It's so you mentioned a little bit of it where there's a high risk, low risk, and medium risk. I know that's a part of the conversation whenever somebody is about to like get into mutual fund investing or whatever. Could you go over that for us? Exactly how does that work, or what is it?
Um, so if I would just firstly with the topic about risk and the idea of it sounding like gambling, it's because a lack of understanding can make almost anything a gamble. If you don't actually understand why you're buying a stock, how the company makes money, even if you gain, it's going to be a gamble because the decision wasn't actually made off of any reliable information. You just kind of speculated and took a chance. So I think that's why it can be compared to that. It's because the it can feel that way when you don't know what you're doing. Um, Now, when you take the time to actually understand companies, how they make money, if a stock is valued correctly, if you should be buying into it, now we go from gambling to calculated risk, and that's really the difference. The knowledge, the understanding before making a decision is really what changes the game. And for us, like you said, like Dominic would have mentioned, we have experts in our field, in our space, that are managing our mutual funds. We have experts that are making sure that we're making informed and not emotional decisions. We're trying to actually capitalize and look for the long term growth of our funds. We're not trying to make the quickest dollar every day, which is kind of like the day trader model. We're actually trying to build wealth for our clients long term. So the levels of risk is more so going to be associated with a person's goals, their age, and the type of securities they'll be exposed to. Like, when I say more risky, I'm thinking companies, ownership of companies. That's always going to be more risky than being a lender to a company. So that's the levels of risk that we manage in.
And
Yeah.
each security type, and so now that Q has kind of differentiated the risk that's involved in terms of gambling versus with investing. Um, I'll go a little bit deeper and just said that
Hmm.
each security type inherently has its own risk level. And that risk level is more so just associated with the kind of the potential for volatility or the potential of it meeting the expected returns that we have, and it's more so how it's with the security, how it's made up. So within investment, we have various security types. When you're talking about something that's more conservative in nature, you're talking about fixed income securities. And fixed income securities, they get their name because there's a fixed income or fixed rate of return. And that's you. And usually any security is like that, where there's a actual fixed return where they say, oh, 5% or 4% or 6%. Those are naturally, they're more conservative, or they are the conservative securities, because you can reasonably assume that, okay, if I go into this investment and they're telling me that they're going to give me 5%, then I should expect 5% each year. That's a reasonable assumption to make. And so that's where the whole risk part comes in. Versus on the
Are those
flip
like
side,
are those like money markets, or like the lower risk ones where like you buy like bonds for, or
yes, yes, you
yeah,
you got it.
okay,
You
yeah,
yeah, yeah, you got it. So yeah, so bonds would be considered fixed income securities, because a
Preference
bond, when you
shares.
purchase a bond, you know your terms when you purchase it. Okay, I'm purchasing a 20-year bond at 6% annual rate, paid semi-annually. So you know that for the next 20 years, you're going to be getting paid 6% twice, well, 6% split into two payments for the year. So yeah, bonds, preference shares, those are considered fixed income securities, because you can reasonably go out and be like, for the next 20 years, I know I'm going to get X amount of money each year.
Yeah.
Versus on the flip side, you have equities, and equities are considered more high risk because there is no guaranteed return. There's a level of volatility there that you don't know. The equity is dependent on dependent on the performance of the company, because when we talk about equities, equities are shares or stocks within a company. So they're all used interchangeably. We hear, oh, buying shares or buying stock, all they're the same thing. So they're used basically interchangeably. So when we talk about oh, I want to purchase shares into Amazon or into Apple, that's what we mean when we're talking about equities. And because of the with equities, it's dependent on the performance of the company. If the company is able to reach certain, milestones or certain expectations, then that's usually good in terms of the company's performance. And then what ends up happening is the stock price goes up. And that's where you start to see yourself making money from that. Because let's say you purchase some stock at $5 and then they have some good, sales reports or something like that. You can then see the price go up. So what you bought at $5 is now $10, and you just doubled your worth. So that's how you make money. But on the flip side, if the company underperforms,
Volatility.
bingo, you see Q set down, goes down. And so that's what we mean by volatility. We can't necessarily
Yep.
guess. We could make reasonable assumptions that this company should be somewhere around here, but
Yeah.
there's
But things change so quickly. You know,
exactly. And so that's where the
couldn't
volatility.
predict COVID.
Exactly. Certain things can happen in a blink of an eye. There are certain things that, could just naturally happen in the course of doing business. And then you could have things like COVID, like you said, that pops up and that just totally wrecks things. And so it's a lot of and mind you, something like COVID could affect everything across the board, but we're just giving you examples to show you how things can affect the way a company performs, and that's where the volatility comes in, and that's why that is
Mhm.
considered more high risk than the fixed income security, where for certain I'm supposed to be getting 6% each year.
And just to one last thing onto it, also the risk and return that they're correlated as well, because as Dominic would have stated, like the earning potential of a stock is essential. You could almost describe it as infinite because the stock price can continue going up. Unlike with something like a fix, it's not. It's gonna be what it is, and that's what you're gonna get.
And I
There's
and just
not the
Yeah,
the,
I,
the
I, I
earning potential is. Mhm.
right.
correct.
No, I was gonna say my assumption though with the fixed one, well, one, I'm with money markets, those are with bonds, those are like government issued things, right?
They don't
Not
only have,
all.
not all. It doesn't only have to be
Yeah, it's
government.
corporate bonds, corporate notes,
All right.
preference shares,
Yeah, but I
things
mean,
like
so
that.
yeah,
They're not a fixed
yeah.
income.
I was thinking about with government. If a government collapses, then I have a bigger issue to worry about
Yeah.
than
Yeah,
just whatever
yeah,
True.
happened to the money. You
yes,
understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
so,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
in my mind,
Yeah.
the safety of that, I could plan better with that because if I put this in and I know I'm getting 6% unless the government collapse or if it's a corporate bond unless this gigantic company
Company come, yeah,
collapses,
yeah.
then I could build on that. Whereas if I'm investing into a random company, I'm like, boy, I really hope that this company is the next Netflix. They may be or they may not be, and
Yeah.
so I can't
Yeah.
really build off of that.
And another good way to look at it too is the fixed income securities. You also can look at kind of and this is along the lines of what Q was saying earlier with risk and return. You could also look at certain securities kind of have more like caps and floors. Like so for something that's fixed income, you're gonna have in a lot of instances, you could potentially have a relatively high floor, but your ceiling could be capped. And sometimes you're okay with this level of volatility, because it's like, well, I could reasonably assume that I'm somewhere around here. And when I speak to that, I'm talking about it from the perspective of when we talk about in terms of our funds, because the funds themselves are made up, and we could Quinton and I can literally sit down and go through a whole presentation right now about the investment.
Right.
But
Right.
with the mutual funds, especially when we're talking about the lower risk ones, we have a range of returns that we kind of expect based off what it's made up of. And like with fixed income mutual funds, or the mutual funds that are specifically invested in fixed income securities, their range of returns it's kind of tight. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of tight.
Especially for like when you especially look at it from a year to year, I think that's like that's something as well. Like it's also a time horizon that needs to be considered with the risk appetite and what type of investments. Now, you did mention like investing into a company that might be the next Netflix. I think investing into some startup compared to some established company, those are just two different. They might even be two equities, which could be considered risk in general, but they two different risk level completely, right? One is a complete speculation because you're investing more into a
You know
startup.
nothing
So
about them, yeah, and how they're
exactly.
how they,
So that would
you have no past history to go off of anything. You know, a lot
that
of
would be the
assumptions in that
difference
regard.
there.
Yeah,
But
versus with the established company, where you have some past history and you actually kind of
yeah,
know how this company operates and you have something to go off of. So yeah, like
right.
you said, you know, even that
Like
like within that,
Alive recently refinanced their bonds, right? I've got a bonds or a preference shares, and they reduced the rate because now the company is a lot more established. They can actually negotiate a lower rate to the investors versus when they would have initially raised capital. They paid a higher rate of return because it's a
they
new
want it
project.
and they want is a new project and you want to attract people and coming in. So you gotta come in, you're gonna be like, hey, we're gonna offer you, I think it was what, 8%? I think they
Eight and a
had
half,
8.5, and then they dropped it to what,
eight.
7? They dropped it to 8. Yeah, so you come in like even like that is a good example. You come in like that, you want to have some higher return to kind of attract people into, you know, giving this money up to help because you in that situation they're raising capital for a new company, you know, and so at this point now we're years into it, we have an idea of how Alive works, and so now at this point they can lower it. So yeah.
Right, this conversation is going great. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. You are watching and listening to Sidebar, a 103 The Beat podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We'll be right back.
'Twas the night before Christmas. The stage was set. Big Bang arrived. The biggest yet. Fantasy 5 flashing. Those 5 balls glow. Quick draw. Lotto making winners flow. The island erupting. The cheers grow bigger. Santa laughed out loud. Our balls are bigger. From Moneyland's heart, the truth was clear. At Island Luck, winners live here.
It's an island love Christmas. Joy's in the air. Jackpots are rising. There's luck everywhere. No snow on the ground. Just sunshine and cheer. It's an island love Christmas. The best time of year.
Big Bang, December 20th. See you there!
Welcome back to Sidebar, a 103 The Beat podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We are talking today with RF because we want to know how to there's no other way to say it, but cease the brokenness. And we're talking about actual actionable steps and ways that we can make that happen. So let me ask you guys, right? Because I know when you're trying to get a mortgage, one of the things that they take into account is your age. They'll be like, all right, we can't really give you a 30-year mortgage if you in your 60s because we don't know if you ain't gonna be working at 90 to pay us back. So you need to get a 30-year mortgage. Right. Yeah.
Right.
So early on. And so wondering if when you're investing, if certain investment vehicles or investment types are more suited for persons at a certain stage in their life, or
Precisely.
like when is the right time to take a higher risk investment, or even if it's a mutual fund where it's like, all right, I'd like to put my money into this that we're investing into the fix, the bond situation, or let's invest inside some utility companies, or put me into high risk. Like
Hmm.
what when is the right time, or what should a person when they're walking in be thinking, saying, okay, I know I a 25-year-old walking in, what should they be thinking versus somebody who's in their late 40s, but it's the first time that they have a couple extra dollars and they're like, maybe I should do something else with this money. What should the mindset be, or what should they prepare themselves with?
So time horizon is important. So the younger you start, the more aggressive or the more high risk you can essentially take. So there's like a scale of like being from aggressive growth to more moderate conservative. So if you're looking to really like maximize, especially starting younger, you're likely making less at a younger age. So you really need to maximize earning potential. So that's going to be the time that you really want to take advantage and take on the most risk, especially and mutual funds. Even we describe it as more high risk. A mutual fund, in comparison to all securities in the investment space, is still considered medium risk because it's so well diversified, right? So, but it's high risk in the sense of what the mutual fund space is. But yes, essentially, the lot more time horizon you have, which is essentially the time until you would have to retire, so you no longer have active income. The more time you have before that period, the more risk you essentially want to take.
Because at the end of the day, you actually have more time to make adjustments in the event that, okay, you took on something higher risk, it didn't pan out, you may have taken a loss. But at 25, and let's say that happens, it's a lot easier for you to adjust, make up for that versus someone who's 55 who should actually be more concerned with capital preservation. So just to go into it quickly, 25, your focus should be more on capital appreciation, which would be trying to make as much money as possible, trying to get the best possible returns for yourself. And at 55, 60, you are more concerned with keeping what you have. So your focus should be on capital preservation. So, age, that's why I said earlier, it was a great question because we do factor in age when we're talking to people and making suggestions to them in terms of products and services that will work best for them. Another thing that, and maybe we're going to get into this, but another thing we should also take into consideration along with age is also just understanding someone's natural risk tolerance and the kind of risk profile they have. You have some people who are just, and this is not just within the investment space, but in just general in real life, who are more aggressive in nature. They're more willing to take on risk just naturally. And if you're that type of person, you're okay with the idea of, well, I know this is a bit more volatile. I know this is a bit more aggressive, but this is what I want to do. And so it's a combination of factoring age, but also considering a person's risk tolerance. Because I, while I would advise a 55-year-old probably to be a bit more on the conservative side, if their natural inclination is to be aggressive, then I would only advise maybe we break it up in a certain way where you kind of hedge a little bit. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if a person's risk profile is that they're more aggressive, then we follow that. So it's a combination of age and also their tolerance.
I think a trap you don't want to fall into is wanting the highest possible returns and taking on no risk because that'll you will never
Yeah,
start
yeah,
investing
yeah,
because it just
yeah.
it's a cognitive dissonance because you can't have both though like the thoughts around that it'll be hard to ever make a decision because the returns of the one that you like is high risk and you're like I don't and then the returns of the one that you would more so align with from I guess personality standpoint, like Dominic said, conservative. You're like, well, the returns there are kind of low, so you end up in this weird space of not actually ever doing anything.
You're talking from experience, right, bro? Because
Yeah.
there's enough people
Yeah,
there's
I get
enough
that a
people who
lot.
come in all the time.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, I wanna make X amount of money, but I don't want to take on too much risk." And I'll be very honest with you, working in this space, not that I didn't know, but it this working in this space simply confirmed it. Bahamians are very they're naturally conservative.
Yeah.
You know, we're just naturally conservative.
Yeah,
Very,
very.
very. People do not like the idea of seeing any money leave in their account.
Hmm.
Even if you're telling them, like, give it some time, and look at this over, period of a year or years, because the minute they see a 1 cent leave in their account, they're like, hey, what's going on? And
Yeah.
so it's just behaviors are just we're inherently conservative, so that makes us risk averse naturally.
That makes sense. So okay, so here's one of the things that was always inside my head. Well, has been in my head for a while. You kind of see it a lot now where you have people saying, "Oh, well, if somebody had invested $1,000 or $10,000 for you at this age, by the time you're 18, it'd been this, or by the time you're 25, it'd be $1 million, and all these different ideas and stuff." And it feels like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it would be great if I could go back in time and do it for myself. But everybody have children, and everybody have godchildren, and it's like one of these times when you about to blow $2,000 on bottle service trying to prove something to somebody, you could be like, why? If I put this in on my nephew, 20 years from now, my nephew could be like, wow, you're the world's greatest uncle. Do
Right.
you guys have vehicles like that for kids? Because I mean, like $2,000 today, while $2,000 is, I mean, it's not a lot of money, but it's a reasonable amount of money to do something with. But putting $2,000 away now and getting uh, a 6% return on that over 20 years is that's significant, right? And that's being on a conservative side. So, are there vehicles like that where persons can put something away for that's like a child or something like that, so that they can have a better start than all of us had, where we starting from the bottom.
And then I mentioned it earlier. I
You
called
did,
it
yeah.
earlier. Yeah, it's the educational investment account. So with the educational investment account, and I love the fact that you use $2,000. And I promise you guys, whoever watching this, we did not practice this. We did not coach that. He just happened to pick an arbitrary number
Right.
that literally was spot on. It was perfect. You can open up an educational investment account with $2,000. And within that, you can decide, well, let's put it into this mutual fund. So you could put it into. So you will have access to about 4 to 6 mutual funds, and out of those, you can go into all if you wish, but you can maybe find one, two, three that work for you, and you can break your money up and put it. How it works is that it's up in the name of the adult, but it's actually you're gonna have a beneficiary form to sign that's going to state that this account, while in the name of the adult, is being held in care of a child. And so, yeah, you take that money, you invest it into the mutual fund. If you can put money into it, on a somewhat regular basis, you can set up monthly deductions to be sent and added to the account as well. Over time, that like you said, in about 18 to 20 years, your nephew would be like, man, I have the greatest uncle. This guy gave me a hell of a start to my adult life.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we do have these products available.
So is that
So if
something that
anyone's
a lot of
interested,
people are
Quinton,
interested in when you hear, or like, is that a popular thing?
it is very popular actually.
Yeah, yeah,
We have quite a bit of people who actually come in and they open it up.
yeah.
Yep.
I open up to this week.
I've had to
So
open up.
no, go ahead.
No, I said I had to open up a few, and I have one I have to open up for my son as well. So yeah, yeah.
I like what the my ability to, I guess, over the years add to that. what, like, is there a minimum to that, or it doesn't
Yeah,
matter?
You could just go ahead.
I think it's like if you wanted to, you could add like a minimum of 100 each time to each fund, depending on which funds you're in. However, we try to make this process with everything as smooth as easy as possible. So outside of the initial $2,000 that you invest, you can also set up a monthly automatic contribution where you don't have to think about it. Every month on a particular day, we can pull the funds from your account, have it come into the account, invested into the fund, and you don't even have to actually do anything. So from the day that you actually sit down and sign the paperwork, you don't actually, unless you want to make additional contributions outside of that, you don't have to do anything else. I'm always going to suggest that you do, but you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't, but
Yeah.
we encourage you to, because all of that adds up over time, you know.
Take another break, but when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. You are watching and listening to Sidebar, a 103 The Beat podcast, powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
Welcome back to the show. This is Sidebar, 103 The Beat podcast, powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. All right, so talking about the educational fund and mutual funds and investment in general, are there any other, I'm going to say, investment vehicles that you'd want the public to know about?
Yeah. Now the mutual funds and the education investment accounts, specifically mutual funds, would probably be a great starting place for most individuals. So I'd always suggest that people start there and look to start there. However, we're the same stocks that we tell you we invest into. You can trade on the local exchange, buying individual stocks. You can participate in these different offerings that you might see in the newspaper. You heard people talk about. I think recently there was a company raising capital that we allow our clients to participate in. We currently have a security now that we're the sole distributor for called eCapital. It's a USD fixed income investment opportunity, very high yielding. So we have our more high net worth products like our private wealth, trust and estate planning services, investment management services. We have a black card that comes with that. So there's a lot that can be done here. The conversation that we're having today is mainly to get people involved and understanding that they can be a part of this. But there's so much that we actually offer at RF.
We literally just only touched the tip of the iceberg of what we can do here at RF and what we offer. So for anyone who's interested, I would suggest that you just reach out to us, give us a shout. That to me, that'd be the best thing to do, because most importantly, and I think what ends up happening a lot of times is that people come into you and they're like, well, how much do I need to start off with? And I always tell people is not a specific amount or anything like that, because it's no one size fits all kind of thing where, what may work for me may not work for you and may not work for Quinton. We're all different individuals. We all have different things going on. We're all on different financial journeys. And so that's why it's important to actually, you as an individual, reach out, because then, we can sit down and we could discuss specifically what works for you and what you can do, because it's hard for you. It's not really fair for you to compare yourself to someone else. Where you're at in life may differ from where I'm at in life. And so that's very key to remember, that we're all individual. There's no one size fits all. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you want to get started, just reach out.
Yeah. All right. So I know that you guys are also putting on an art show uh, right now. Could you tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about that?
So Pass Forward is this art exhibit that RF has partnered with the Ministry of Education, Technical and Vocational Training. It's an opportunity for Bahamian artists and Bahamian history to be celebrated through the arts. I myself, Quinton as well, we've had an opportunity to actually go to the exhibit. It's amazing. It's co-curated by Keyshawn Monroe, who's actually one of the artists on display, and Jason Taylor, who's also the artist on display, and also we're a colleague of ours here at RF. It's amazing. I'm partially biased because my uncle, Dorman Stubbs, is actually a artist on display as well. But I totally enjoyed the exhibit. More, they there was I'm blanking on his name, but he's a Stubbs as well, so I just say that's my cousin. His
Oh, Kevon,
yeah, his
I know
work
you mean.
is great. His work is great. There are a lot of really good pieces there. And I would suggest anyone to go.
Actually, I'm currently rocking an honorary RF art piece at the moment. I've called it the wild one, which is my beard. I've decided to, yeah, I've decided to use this as a artistic expression as we have the show going on. So it's not on display there, but it's on display here for everyone watching.
This is what they mean when they say the money can change you.
There will be
But
signs.
like, all right. So I know that part of this is in aid of scholarships for local
Yeah.
Bahamian art
So,
students.
the proceeds from the attendance is supposed to go to a scholarship fund that is in place for Bahamians who are pursuing the fine arts. And so, the show is to help, push the Bahamian art landscape. And like I said, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing. I used to actually do poetry events some time back. So I was kind of in that artsy space for a moment. And then as I grew in my career, I kind of fell apart. So it is a bit refreshing to see the two worlds collide and to see RF, take the step to actually get into that space. I definitely tip the hat off to RF and, all of the persons with their pieces on display for collaborating in such a beautiful way. The show, the entire experience is absolutely amazing. If I wasn't so focused on getting my finances together, I probably would have bought every piece in there.
So tell people how long the show is on for, and it's the gallery, the area where it's on display is over
Now,
PI
no,
Marina Village.
basically like by Margaritaville.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
something with an M, something with an M.
yeah,
Yeah,
Margaritaville.
Margaritaville.
Can't miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the dates are.
So the actual exhibit has been going on since I think November 14th, and it's supposed to end next weekend, December 13th. It's open Thursday through Saturday. I want to say 10 a.m. to 3. And the cost is $10.
So what would you guys like to leave the public with? If they don't take anything else home with them, what would you want them to leave listening to this podcast knowing?
If you are interested in investing, there's no need to wait. Just get started now. A lot of times people they wanna, oh, I'm not ready yet. I need to save. No, if this is something that you've been thinking of and you've been putting it off, allow this to be your sign to go and get started. And also go and visit Pass Forward over PI.
I would just say, the best time to start, that is already gone. It's now is not the best time. Now is the second best time to start. So you really want to get a ball moving, ball rolling, sorry, on just, and not just on this journey to building wealth, on just maybe even just having a conversation. Because I've also had conversations with persons where I was like, okay, look, on the financial pyramid, you still need to work on money management before we start investing funds. And once you
We
have
didn't
an
even talk.
idea, fun.
I say we didn't even get a chance to talk about the financial pyramid
That's okay.
either.
That's why he's gonna have us back so we can do more. Yeah,
Yeah, man,
yeah,
you guys come back so
yeah.
we
But
can
just
get deeper into it.
just to even just get the conversation started. It's better to speak with a professional like me, Dom, and the other two advisors, Tishrea and Patrick. It's best to speak with one of us, get an idea of where you're at currently. If it's time to actually move forward, we'll let you know. If we don't think it's time for you to move forward, maybe focus on some other things, we'll also let you know then. But don't wait, because the best time is already gone. You need to act.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dominic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Quinton. And thank you so much for joining us. Once again, this has been Sidebar, a 103 The Beat podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. True God still.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?